This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
This is why the Niconico Pride is such a firm favourite.
It's Kinky Tail.
He just looks ready for a fight. This is still her territory.
The Avoca boys are here to stay.
How insane was that?
What a fantastic and heart-racing experience we have just had. We're at the tent once again for this week's Safari Lives, and an entire massive herd of elephants has just walked right past us, almost to the point of us being able to touch them. And I'm just checking behind us to make sure that there's not more sneaking up as I talk to you. A very good afternoon to all of you. My name is Jamie, and this afternoon, Senzo is on camera with me. And this is what is so extraordinary about what it is we do. We are out each and every single day experiencing nature at its absolute finest. And my heart's still beating fast just out of the sheer appreciation of the moment that we just experienced. Now, this Safari Lives episode, and each and every week as we do them, gives us the opportunity to give you a little bit of a summary as to what we've seen during the week, both the ordinary and the extraordinary things, as the drama of our cast of characters unfolds right on our very doorstep.
The unusually chilly weather in South Africa seemed to keep our cat characters on the move this week. Hasana remained ensconced in his favourite areas, mostly along the dry river systems of Djuma, while his father, Tingana, completed a full territorial patrol to refresh his markers after the rain. Tundi came slinking back onto Djuma from the north, before all three leopards found themselves reunited around a very popular impala kill. The Niconico Pride remained on the boundary of Djuma and Torchwood, away from the Avoca male. In the Masai Mara, the pride dynamic seemed to have settled down after the initial chaos of the migration. The massive Olololo pride are back in the northeast corner of the triangle, clearly able to keep their 12 subadults well fed for now. The Sausage Tree pride have not moved far from their favourite spots around the base of the escarpment, keeping their tiny cubs away from harm. And while the much smaller Wino pride might be sandwiched between the larger prides of the area, they are in the perfect position to take full advantage of a buffet line of migrating wildebeest.
So from across two different African countries, you can experience the tales that we have to tell you. And what we're trying this week is something a little bit new. We're going to be taking turns to host these live safaris from the tent. So we've opened up the tent once again. It is back in action, and it gives us the opportunity to not just talk about what's happened during the week with our animal characters, but to really get into the meat of what's actually going on, how their dynamics are changing, what's going to happen next, or at least try and guess what's happened next. So this week we're going to be focusing on the dynamics of both the Mara hyenas, but more specifically the hyenas of the Djuma clan, who have only just recently returned to our wonderful property. Now remember, because this is a live safari, you can send through questions on #SafariLive on Twitter or in the comments section. But for now, while you think of what you want to ask us, let's go and join Sydney, who's out and about and possibly with exactly the same elephants that just walked past.
Oh, look at that. I've got the elephants. They've just been to the waterhole now. I can see they are all slowly moving much more towards the southern part of the game reserve. They've been here for quite a long time, and a very, very good afternoon and welcome to the beginning of the Safari Live episode 20. I am Sydney Niconico and I'm traveling with Dave, who is my camera operator this afternoon. We are going to try by all means and get you see the best sightings ever. For questions and comments, you can follow us on Twitter, #SafariLive. You can also follow us on YouTube chat stream. The weather is very, very much hot at the moment here where I am. I could see that those elephants as well, they are here much earlier because it's very hot and it's very much bright here where I am. So I'm just going to try and see if I can improve this sighting. So but I can see they are moving very much quickly, so I must have to go around here. So now, while I am still trying to reallocate the beautiful elephant sighting, let's go to James, who you have not yet met, who's got a lovely spotted cat.
Look at the wonderful cat we have for our introduction, everybody. There it is in all its glory, a long, thin cat with a keratinous end to it and some flies. That obviously is not a cat at all. My name is James Henry, but we do have two cats over here in this, what is it, 20th episode of Safari Live. There is one of them over there. That is Hosanna, the young male leopard, aged 2 and 8 months. And then we have his daddy. Over there, enormously fat, Tingana, the 13-year-old Duke of Juma. And he is so corpulent, so stuffed full of meat, that he is unable even to put his head down and sleep as soundly as his somewhat hungrier son. And that is because he is afraid that Hosanna will come up and eat off the disgusting, stinking nyala that is lying in the tree. That was what we began with, of course. Please do talk to us using the hashtag SafariLive or the chat stream on YouTube. We are going to be talking highlights from the week of our special Safari Live characters. What played out here, I'll tell you what happened here, but it's going to feature lengthily, if you like, in next week's episode, because it happened yesterday. And so we'll talk about the events that led up to what we see over here. Basically, yesterday, that nyala was killed by Tandi. A hyena came in to steal it. Hosanna then tried to steal it from the hyena. Tingana then came in here and stole it from all of them, took it up the tree, and has been moving between here and an impala carcass that he stole from Hosanna the same morning, so yesterday morning. Was it yesterday morning or the morning before? I can't remember. Yesterday morning? Or the morning before? It was yesterday morning. So she stole from Hosanna, and basically Tingana has been going between the two kills, making sure that nobody's eating them other than him. Tandi had a go at this one. Tandi had a go at the impala. We found her with the impala earlier this morning. So really there's been a huge amount of action over here with our leopards. At the moment you can see there is not a lot of action going on with our leopards. Unusually, the tent seems to be the site of most of the action this afternoon.
This is so cool. So Sydney's elephants have just left the waterhole and are now wandering along past us. I'm hoping they're going to come this way. It's two bulls that were walking behind the rest of the herd. So they've actually, I think they've decided to take a slightly different line. The rest of the herd moved through on this side of the tent. I think this gentleman, let's just see. He's making his way towards us. Here he goes down through the dip. All right. So what we're going to have to do is be very, very quiet, because where we are right now means that he's going to come exceptionally close to us if he does continue on this line. Here he comes. Sens, can you crouch, or do you think the sticks are going to get in your way? Okay. Absolutely dead still now. actually can't talk too much right now. It's okay, my boy. It's not us frightening him, it's the tent. It's the flapping of the tent. It's a young bull. He actually can't see us terribly well. But the tent moving around, the rest of the herd were quite comfortable. It's okay, my boy. It's okay. Shame. Here we go. It's all good, see? No one's going to move quickly. It's amazing how much more comfortable the females were with us. There you go, now you've got some company. There you go. It's an older male showing the youngster which way to go. Mrs. I know you say wow. I know. The wonderful thing about being in an area like this where we're sort of around a camp is that the animals know to expect people. Very still now, Sense. Very still. Awesome. And you say, wow, how amazing and lucky we are. My boy, we're all good. How cool was that? Absolutely amazing. So, so cool. Just to get to share in those moments, and you never ever get, or you very seldom get that close to elephants when you're away from the camp. Out here they know that this is our space, they know that they're going to see people around here, so they don't get a fright in the same way that they would, because even though he couldn't really see us, he could see the tent flapping, he could hear the tent flapping, and also the wind was blowing directly from behind us. Not much we can do about that. So he could smell us. They're going to go around the front. I'm just going to move so that he doesn't creep up around us. It's something that elephants do. Here we go. There we go. You okay there, Sense? Oh, we'll stop for a sec. He's here. Very cool. Now, I know that we had a question about elephants and wrinkly skin, and I was completely distracted. Rosalind, you wanted to know about why elephants have such wrinkly skin. It's one way in which they are able to increase their surface area and therefore able to cool themselves down more efficiently. So obviously the bigger surface area to volume ratio, the easier it is. Okay there, Senzo, well done. He's managed to crawl in between the ropes of the tent to show us those elephants. Not our neatest, perhaps not our neatest segment, but definitely one of our coolest at the tent. So they cool themselves down by having a larger surface area, or it helps to cool them down by having a larger surface area. Also, when they go to watering holes, which is what this herd has just done, often they'll splash mud and water on themselves. That gets trapped in the fine wrinkles and lines in the skin. And then as the air passes over it, obviously it evaporates and that creates a cooling effect. They haven't done that today because it's actually not that hot. It's actually quite cool today. The wind is really blowing. It's blowing in from the south, which means that there's a very chilly air to it. Cool. Yeah. That wasn't where I was expecting to go with the first tented safari lives, but it worked out pretty well. I'm pretty happy about it. It's very cool. Okay, our elephants are going to wander off and follow along with the rest of the herd. Now, I mentioned that we're coming to you from 2 different locations, and I don't believe that David has had a chance to say hello.
Hello everyone, and how lucky to see elephants, which happen to be my favorite animals. Welcome to the Masai Mara Triangle in Kenya, and my name is David, and with me on camera today is Archie. A very good afternoon to everybody. And what an exciting afternoon. We have wonderful temperatures today at 29 degrees Celsius, 85 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's why maybe we have that crocodile out there basking and trying to get the best from the solar energy. We're just sitting close to the Mara River, and this river is always full of crocs, hippos. There's one big crocodile there just having a snooze and basking itself. Remember, this is a very interactive safari that we do, and should you have any questions or should you want to give comments, you may do that using hashtag SafariLive. Where we are not very far from one territory that is always occupied by a pride of lions that we call the Owinos. As the last herds from the migration have been making their way out of the Mara Triangle, the Owinos have been watching them keenly. After stalking the herd for a while, one of the females tries her luck. Her chase is ambitious, too ambitious. The Owinos miss out on a meal for the day. The following day, as the sun goes down, the pride regroups, grooming each other, including sharpening their claws, for possibility of another hunt. One of the females commits to chasing it down a nearby unsuspecting herd. This time around, the strategy is well executed. The hungry pride quickly joins in to enjoy their hard-won dinner. Well, how cool was that? And I have always found the Owino pride of lions to be very resilient. Anytime they'll give a shot to a hunt and they do not succeed, they'll always try a second time. Now, the Owino pride of, the Owinos consists of 5 lions. They've got 4 females and 1 youngster. The leader, which I think is the one who went hunting the wildebeest there, is called Butternut. She is big and she is always very aggressive. And more often than not, I've found out the moment she makes a decision to go for a hunt, she'll always get it. So Owinos is a pride of lions living not very far from where we are. And my plans today possibly is to look for that pride. If I don't see the Owinos, I'll be looking for any other pride. All right, the crocodile is still enjoying its warmth there. And this river where we're just sitting here, which is called the Mara River, it's very famous because all the migration is always down here. And we'll always have wildebeest crossing this river. We still have lots of migration going on around here, but we've got to leave this predator alone, or reptile, and go across to some spotted predators.
Back across to Jamie, who's looking at the Mara River, and it brings back somewhat nostalgic memories. Because, of course, I did spend quite a bit of time in the Mara over the last year and a half. During that time, I really got to grips with the North clan of hyenas, and the hyenas in the Masai Mara are really, truly extraordinary. And that's how we're going to start off our hyena chat, is by talking a little bit about the differences between the Mara hyenas, the Djuma hyenas, and, in fact, compare what's just played out with the Djuma clan with what could happen at the North in the North clan in the future. So what I'm going to do is I am going to pop my headphones on, I'm going to turn the sound up, and off we go. So there we go, the North clan of hyenas living in their Samaki, oh not the Samaki swamp, sorry, the Old Punyata swamp. Now immediately what's noticeable is the thick, lush surrounds. It is in fact a swamp, and that's what makes their hunting technique so special. Now I don't even need to point out the differences here between the Djuma hyenas and the Mara hyenas. Just look at the difference in habitat. Now the Djuma clan is physically much smaller in terms of numbers, but each and every individual is much, much larger than the individuals of the Mara. Now, have a look at the almost palatial type den sites of the Djuma clan, and now compare it to essentially a hole in the ground, which is what the North clan hyenas of the Masai Mara utilize. So two of exactly the same species that live in totally different environments. When it comes to lions, we know that the Mara hyenas are not afraid. They have the advantage of numbers. The North clan is over 80 members. But the Djuma clan, well, they have a different approach to things, and usually it's our leopards that fall victim to their thieving techniques. So there you see, two of the same species with two of the same spotted hyenas, but with completely different lifestyles. Over 80 members in one clan in the Masai Mara compared to the Djuma clan, who at the moment, I'm not even sure if we know exactly how many there are, but it's definitely not more than about 20, maybe 25. I don't think so, though. I think it's under 20. And during the last year and a half, they've been through a period of a serious transition, and they've only just really started spending time back on Djuma once again. But you saw earlier that a clip or that moment with all of the hyenas gathered together in the water on Djuma. Those moments are so few and far between, where we get to actually see them and to settle into the dynamics of what's going on within the clan. And that for us makes life really very difficult. With the Mara hyenas, Waffles, the matriarch, was pretty much always there. Now Waffles is about as famous as the Mara River itself. Now she was always present, she was always around the den site, even before she had her cubs. And she really played a massive role with the dynamics, and she allowed us to gauge each and every single hyena's position in the hierarchy with her. Now, the question is, can we do the same thing with the Djuma clan? Can we even figure out which female is the dominant member of the Djuma clan? And that's going to take us a vast amount of time, and the only thing that we can do is hope that they stick around the den, because that is the easiest way to find them. Earlier on, we showed you a map of the movements of the various animals, and the only thing that we can really put on there is the hyena den. Crystal says it's the mall hyenas versus the apartment hyenas. Yes, absolutely. There is a vast difference in the way in which they live. Those den sites are, for the Djuma hyenas, for those little cubs, it's the perfect hiding place. Nice deep tunnels for them to be tucked away safely, where the Mara hyena cubs actually have to struggle in the mud and the slush and the rain almost constantly. The other question that we don't know the answer to is just how much the Djuma hyena hunt. The Mara hyenas hunt for up to 95% of the kills that they make, or the food that they eat, is killed by them themselves. We have no idea what the Djuma clan gets up to. We really don't. We know they steal from leopards occasionally, but you can't tell me that Hosanna is feeding 15 plus hyenas every day. He's too busy feeding his family to be able to do that. So somewhere along the line, they are hunting for themselves. Debbie, it's an interesting question. Of course, the North Clan has their massive rival clan, the Happy Zebras. The Djuma clan is the massive Elephant Plains clan, off to the west of them as their rivals. What determines or what controls the size of the Djuma clan? Is it food availability? I don't think so. I guess that at some point something happened, perhaps a split. There might be a breakaway, probably in the last 10 or 20, let's say 20 or so years ago. Perhaps they split away and it's taken them a long time to recover their numbers. I have absolutely no idea exactly how that all played out. It is truly amazing. Oh, where's our hyena skull? It was here somewhere. Has it gone? No, there it is. I don't think we can have a proper chat about hyenas without the hyena skull in my hands, so I'm going to stop, examine it, and ponder on the differences between the hyenas and why the Djuma clan is so small. But while we give that some thought, there is a leopard out here who doesn't take nonsense from a hyena.
I don't take nonsense, or the leopard doesn't take nonsense. Certainly Tingana takes absolutely no nonsense whatsoever. Yes, Emma, I'm talking. Can you hear me talking? Okay. I'm talking. Emma, do you copy? Emma? All right, I think there was a small glitch there in the matrix. Anyway, we shall try and find out what happened. There we have Tingana. Male leopard, doesn't take any nonsense. That is absolutely correct. I'm not sure if Jamie was referring to me or the leopard when she said that he doesn't take nonsense. This leopard certainly doesn't take any nonsense whatsoever. And he came in here and he chased away his young son and, his consort and his daughter, Tlalamba. There is the son. You can see that he's been traumatized. He is now exhibiting many signs of post-traumatic stress syndrome. Can you see him there? Look how stressed he looks, Sebastian. It looks like he's barely going to make it through the afternoon. There we go. We had an ear flick. Classic example of post-traumatic stress. Now, the great scavenger that is Tingana, scavenging this time round, well, he's done quite a lot of hunting, not all of it successful this week.
Let's face it, Tingana is not one to overdo it, especially in the heat of the day. But, like many leopards, he will move during daylight hours when the fancy takes him, marking a bit of territory and testing smells around the place for signs of intruders or perhaps estrus females. He, like the rest of us, will up his water intake as the summer progresses. He uses a lot of moisture, panting out the extremely hot Lowveld midday. Hunting is also not impossible in the blinding sunlight when the mood or opportunity presents itself. His chances without the cover of darkness are significantly reduced, however, and this Nyala escaped without even knowing that there was anything to escape from.
So you can see he hasn't been very successful this week on the hunting front. Well, not initially anyway. But what must be said about that little piece of footage that we saw there was that it was in the middle of the day, and it demonstrates, A, that leopards move in the middle of the day, which of course those of you who are regular viewers know from watching Tingana and Hosanna and Tundi and Tlalamba and Shidulu and all the other leopards that we see over here. And the other thing it shows, of course, is how opportunistic leopards are. I guarantee you that he wasn't out there hunting in those conditions. He wasn't slinking through the bushes. He was walking in the open when he spotted that nyala. The nyala didn't spot him, so he thought he would take the opportunity to try and catch it. And that's what they do. They are the ultimate opportunists, and it's why they are the most widespread wild cat in the world. They didn't always, they weren't always the most widespread. Those were lions. That honour went to lions at one stage, but that honour now goes to leopards. Romit, obviously this leopard does quite a lot of scent marking because he's 13. This is his territory. He must maintain it. He must maintain the integrity of his borders. His young son, who is now rolling over. Look at that, Sebastian. There's high action going on with Hosana. I can't believe you missed it. There it is. He's lifted his head. Phew. He will probably start marking when he is about, well, 3 or 4. Now, we have seen him doing some marking behavior. I don't think that it's actually marking. I think it's simply a function of the fact that he's going through adolescence, and so his instinct is now telling him instead of squatting down and having a pee, he should now spray a bush, rather like a dog when it gets to puberty starts to lift its leg. He's not actively trying to defend a territory yet, otherwise there would be conflict with his father. So while, yes, I suppose you might refer to his relieving of himself as marking these days, I think he's still learning to mark. I don't think he's actually marking a border. Now, while Hosana looks up, his father also has looked up. I wonder if he'll go off towards the kill. He may or may not. Let's go back to Sidders and his herd.
Oh, look at that. I've got a very big herd of the buffaloes here. They've just been to the nearest waterhole, which is the Vuyotela pen, and now they are starting to feed. Buffaloes is very, very unusual to see the big herd feeding by this time of the day, as they prefer to feed early mornings and during the late evenings. Now is the best time for them to rest. So you can see that the whole herd is just concentrating on feeding. So these buffaloes, they normally attract one of the pride in the area, the Unkuhuma pride. And earlier this week, we were very lucky to come across the Unkuhuma pride with one of the male, the Mangeni male, trying to join them. Although still maintaining a distance, the Menji Mangeni male is still with a part of Unkuhuma pride. He seems to be trying to join the pride, or perhaps scavenge from them. It is unlikely that the pride would exclude him because of his skin condition. Normally, prides do not allow changes in membership except through birth or death, but in nature there are always exceptions. If the Unkuhuma pride does become comfortable with this male, it is likely they will engage in some allo grooming. This has not happened yet. So it was very much interesting seeing the Mangeni male trying to force himself to become part of the Unkuhuma pride, which is something very, very difficult, considering the fact that these big cats, they don't normally tolerate the intruders. So look at that. Now I am still with the buffaloes. These are the most prey of the Unkuhuma pride, and I can see that one of the little ones is trying to suckle the milk there. So it's just that this is happening behind the trees. Look at that. You can see she's trying to get a hold of the mammary glands. So it means this little one did not drink enough water, and now is the time in order to have something to drink. So these big females must have to be feeding on quite a lot of nutritious grass so that they can produce quite a lot of milk. Without feeding on nutritious grass, they're not going to be able to perform a very good lactation period. Patrick, by the pride, there is no actual hierarchy, but the oldest females are the ones who are responsible to give some orders, but it's not like a fully dominant structures. So the lions, they work together, and when they come for hunting activities, trying to corner a big herd of buffaloes like this, they've got a very good combination. And apart from that, the very same buffaloes that we are seeing here as well, they do stand their ground. It's not very easy for the lions to take down a buffalo. They will always retaliate and try to save the family member's life. They are very much gregarious. Yes, you can see some of them just by themselves, as some of the males can perform their own solitary life. But when they are in a big group like this, can tend to become very dangerous against their predators. So now let's go to one of the small predators, a predator who is not able to take a big animal like a buffalo. Let's see Hosanna.
No, it is unlikely that Hosanna would be able to take down any buffaloes. His mass is probably around about, I don't know, probably 45, no, a bit more than that, 55 kilos. A buffalo, a big bull, weighs in at around 600 kilos, so 110 pounds and more than 1,000 pounds. So yes, 10 times the weight difference. I don't think he'll take a buffalo, but a big male leopard could take down a small buffalo, and we've seen that a few times. Not the actual takedown, but we've seen big male leopards eating on buffaloes. So there is Hosanna. He's been yawning and looking up towards the tree, but his father, selfish as he is about his meals, is lying underneath, refuses to put his head down, and every time Hosanna does lift his head and look towards the tree, Tingana's eyes snap open, and he just gives a little, almost imperceptible brrr. Now, to have another creature in this world being unkind to him, I think for Hosanna is very difficult, because you see, he likes to make friends.
The week began in a rather lazy fashion for Hosanna. While he does his fair share of resting, he also has the reputation of being the ultimate cat clown, so we always watch him expecting something unusual. This Franklin found the young leopard as interesting as we do. I'm always amazed at how cavalier these birds are around the big cats. It's been strangely cold this week, with brief spells of warmth, which perhaps inspired this little drinking session.
And resting he is there, you can see. So he's had, well, a relatively quiet start to his week. It ended fairly hectically yesterday evening, on Sunday evening, when he had a bit of a spat with his father and a hyena, and now he is resting himself again. And I think that he's going to either go back towards that impala kill from yesterday, because it's not finished, there's still meat in that tree, or he's going to try and approach his father and see if he can get something out of this tree. Now, why it is that he doesn't just walk off to the impala right now, I don't know. But when he tried yesterday, Tingana eventually followed him and chased him out of the tree. But if he'd been clever and just gone from tree to tree, he probably could have eaten a pretty good meal. That is ridiculous. Look at that tongue sticking out. Yes, very sleepy. So just on that Franklin thing, you know, we often see these leopards quite close to Franklins, and they almost never try and catch them. And I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because they know the Franklins are so fast to get off the ground. I'm not really sure. Kristen, Hosanna doesn't leave to go and make another kill because, well, to be fair to the poor fellow, he has made one kill already and his father's stolen it from him. And it's less admin and less risk and less energetically expensive to just sit here and wait and see if perhaps his father moves off to go and have a drink or something like that. He's not particularly hungry. He did eat quite a lot of his impala before it was stolen from him, so he's not desperately hungry. And for him to make the commitment to go off and try and hunt something else now, I think would seem premature to him, given that he's not that hungry and given that there is meat all around here. Isn't that wonderful? I think he's getting bored as well. Now, I'm most pleased to be sending you up to David Katambagitu, who seems to have a vulture who thinks it is an oxpecker.
Well, from spotted predators, we also got some spotted predators, but feathered ones. We got this Rupert's griffon vulture on top of a hippopotamus, but unfortunately the hippopotamus or the hippopotami is dead. I may not know what might have happened, and I also do not know when it may have died. But from the look of things, it could be going to 3-4 days. You see all the white lines coming down, and definitely those are droppings from vultures. And that was a Rupert griffon vulture, just trying to make an incision there and trying to reach some kind of flesh to eat. Of all the animals we have in Africa, hippos have the toughest skins. The local name for a hippopotama here in Kenya is kiboko, K-I-B-O-K-O, kiboko. And kiboko translates to a whip or a lash. And many prison warders have used lashes made of hippopotamus skin to discipline the prisoners because those lashes last forever. Now, it's in a little swamp area, and I think this hippo might have been here drinking earlier, and it succumbed either to some sickness, maybe old age, I have no idea. Brian, I think depends on who is feeding on the hippo. For the hyenas, when they come here, this will be a very good meal for them. For the vultures, this will be fantastic. Way back in the villages when we were young, we used to feed on hippos, you know, us small boys, but young ones, not anymore. But I think this meal, I don't think the hyenas know as yet. There's a dead hippo here. But we are still in the middle of the migration, or coming to the tail of the migration, I would say. And because the wildebeest are easy to catch, much softer, the hyenas may not bother to deal with this hippo here. But I think in the next few days, if the smell is out there in the air, the hyenas will definitely come. Now, if you look on the other side of that swamp, there's so many vultures. Actually, yeah, exactly. You see all those vultures there. These ones belong to the same species of the Rupert's griffon vulture and maybe a few African white-backed vultures. They're just sitting there because they know not much they can do. And they know that the hippos got very tough skins. There's a particular species of hippo here that you call the lappet fist or the griffon. Huge, strong, and those ones are able to open the skin. And until maybe either the hyenas come here or the lappet or the Nubian vultures are able to open this hippo, the vultures here might wait for quite some time. I'll spend a few more minutes here waiting to see what would happen if these vultures are lucky to open it up or the hyenas might come by. But in the meantime, let's send you back to the tent with Jamie Patterson.
Speaking of hyenas, this place is starting to look a little bit like a hyena den itself, honestly. I mean, there's just scattered bones all around it, and that just goes to show that we all have a very similar fascination with animal anatomy. I'm surprised the hyenas haven't come through and chewed on some of these old bones. Now, to talk about the hyenas, it gets really complicated. I'm going to try and keep it as simple as possible. We have a lot of new viewers who've only been watching over the past past 18 months or so, possibly even less. So let me give you the absolute basic. 2 years ago, we knew exactly who the matriarch or the head of the Djuma clan, I've got North clan on the brain, who the Djuma clan was, that her name was Madam, and she was a very fierce hyena. We knew that with absolute certainty, and we kind of figured out from there we could sort of slot the various hyenas into their place in that hierarchy from watching her interactions with them. She was very clearly the most dominant over every single member of the clan, and always around the den site. Now, it gets a little bit more complicated. I have to explain this to you, and I have to do this with a diagram. I was going to show you something, and I might still, but we'll get back to that in a moment. I've been playing with a diagram. Hold on one moment. I was just worried about the wind, so it's been held on by a